on, guys? M4RK, PDX Mark, or whatever y'all want to call me. How the fuck do I be rich and famous YouTuber, bro? Where's the fucking money? YouTube and Twitch? What the fuck? Give me 1 million viewers. Why do they leave? Why you guys leave? What's going on here? Alright. We're playing some Black Desert or whatever. Doing the Magnus quest. This quest sucks. But after it's over, I should have a better time playing the game. Because I will have done like the worst thing ever, you know? The Magnus. Yikes. Life sucks, bro. I'm just gonna be a lol cow forever, bro. I don't know. Why is this open? Today sucked, bro. I'm supposed to come on here and pretend it didn't. What the hell is even that? Otherwise, I'm gonna scare everybody away. It's wild. You know they killed Socrates for being smart. I want to watch the video. I want to know more. I've watched the video once, but I want to really know everything. I want to really know everything. History. Bro, there's no way I got less viewers than Goldsteinberg. Fix that immediately. Video. Fix that immediately right now. Actually, I'd rather watch the Shrek 2 video. Can't believe I didn't finish this.
You know what's one thing that I will never be tolerant of in America? These fucking dipshits who have their signs written in other languages besides English. I am okay if you have the sign in English with a smaller version of a different language underneath. But having your signs in a different language other than the native language of the country drives me f***ing insane. It is infuriating.
Well, he's not the only one that hates
for other people's flags in our country. What are we doing?
Shrek for who he is and for being himself. Fairy Godmother also hates Shrek. Now, like with King Harold, Shrek unintentionally foils Fairy Godmother's plans for her future and for her son. But Fairy Godmother's operating from a very reasonable perspective in which she says ogres don't live happily ever after. It's not just blind hatred that's informing that. Because whenever Shrek comes to her in the middle of the movie, she comes out and says to Shrek that she thinks Fiona isn't happy because she's with an ogre and not with Prince Charming. Now think whatever you will about Fairy Godmother, but she uses the evidence available to her to reinforce her disdain for Shrek and his goals. I mean, she reads through these various fairy tale books and comes to the conclusion based on this information that ogres don't live happily ever after. Meaning, her hatred for Shrek isn't blind hatred, it's based off the present information that she has available to her. So she draws a very reasonable conclusion and does not want him interfering and dislikes him. And more than just hating him for who he is, Fairy Godmother has every right to hate Shrek for what he does. I mean, consider what Shrek does to this woman. Shrek trespasses into Fairy Godmother's factory, steals from her, vandalizes her property, turns her workers into birds. And you may say, oh, well, Shrek's justified in doing this, but Shrek had no idea that Fairy Godmother was the one who had Harold hire Puss in Boots to kill him. And he doesn't know any of that when he vandalizes her factory.
Well, and furthermore, the disguise that he and Donkey and Puss used to sneak in is they're there like almost like a youth.
Yeah, but these people who come into our country and destroy our properties for their protests, it's actually a good thing.
Union to
No,
fight for
it's a good
workers
thing,
who are
guys.
clearly exploited, and he's so careless. He turns them into birds, likely ruining their lives, which are already not great. And the film just plays it as like, ah, ha, ha, Shrek, you silly rascal. You destroyed a factory.
Right, you destroyed all these people's lives, Lamau. But it's okay because we need to learn that ugly, violent people are actually based.
You ruined a bunch of people's lives.
Well, that's one of the consistent themes you see throughout really the entire series that is Shrek. Is Shrek's happily ever after comes at the cost of everyone else's.
Yep.
And the movie somehow paints him as a hero for it.
True.
It only gets worse in Shrek 2. The citizens of Far, Far Away also aren't huge fans of Shrek, and it makes perfect sense. He's an ogre, so it stands to reason they wouldn't exactly be thrilled about him marrying the princess of their kingdom and turning her into an ogre too. But somehow, magically, they are all okay with Shrek after Fairy Godmother's death. And even worse, after Harold takes a magical bullet for Shrek, they find out their king is a literal frog, and the townspeople are all perfectly fine with it. No objection. This really feels like subtle reinforcement that quote-unquote good people have a responsibility to accept others even when they have to pay an insane amount of tax dollars just to keep the leering sinners open.
Like with the first movie, somehow Shrek has the gall to be offended when everyone hates him, not only because of his nature, but also because of his actions. Because his actions reinforce his nature. And Shrek is hated because of his nature. And for good reason, too. He's an ogre. What do we expect? Like, in the movie, the people scowl at Shrek when they first see that he's an ogre. And Harold even says it is in his nature to be a bit of a brute. Even Fairy Godmother herself would say ogres don't live happily ever after. Which, again, all of this is evidenced by the information you have within the movie. People recognize ogres are what they are. But then, Shrek confirms what people think about his nature by showing people who he really is. So in other words, his actions only confirm his nature and show that he isn't one of the good ones.
He's an ogre with a soft A. You know what stood out to me like crazy watching this back for the first time in quite a while? In the very first scene where we see Shrek and Fiona on their honeymoon, in a 1-minute span, they vandalize the house that they're staying in. Fiona feeds a mermaid to sharks just because she was unlucky enough to wash up on shore into Shrek's arms.
Yep.
And Shrek sticks a bunch of fairies in glass jars just to put them through one of the gnarliest Dutch ovens ever created by him and Fiona's farts. In the opening minutes, they show that they are indeed ogres and
Yeah, can we acknowledge that what they're doing together is just freaking disgusting? By the way, fellas, never let your chick get fully comfortable with farting in front of her. You can't do it, bro. You can't. You cannot do it, okay? You must try your best to keep your lady a lady. Otherwise, it's going to cause issues, bro. It will. It's going to cause issues.
be judged.
And again, it reinforces the idea that Shrek is destroying Fiona's upbringing. Ogres are exactly what people think they are. But on top of that, like,
Nah, I farted my bitch. No, bro, I'm telling you, bro, you don't want to do that. You don't want to get so comfortable that you're okay with being gross around each other. You don't want to normalize the fact where both of y'all dress like shit because you're just around each other. You don't want to normalize that you don't get ready for each other in the morning and you only get ready for other people. I'm telling you, if you have this in your relationship, it is going to be a problem. The person who you should be looking the best for is your partner. The person who you should be the best behaved for is your partner. The person who you should take care of yourself the most for is your partner. If your partner only puts on makeup to go outside, only tries when they go outside, I'm sorry, bro, that is not a good precedent to have for you and your partner. You should be trying for your girl, and your girl should be trying for you. My opinion, you live your life, but I warn you, you do not want to get into the phase where all y'all do is be fat, eat shit, and walk around in onesies together. You do not want that to happen. You don't. I warned you. You can think that I'm wrong right now. I'm trying to help you. Shouldn't you be 100% comfortable with your partner? Being comfortable with your partner isn't the same as being lazy, disgusting fucks together. Very big difference. I'm not gonna go and tell my partner, hey bro, come look at my shit, right? I'm not gonna like cover them in blankets and fart in their fucking face. Like, have a lip, like once again, I fart. I'm not gonna lie, I do fart, right? But I only do it if I just legit can't hold it anymore. If I can just wait a second, step outside, rip ass, then get back inside, I'm gonna do that. Because I want to have the best version of myself for the woman who I believe is the best person for me. And I'm telling you, the longer you can hold that, the better the sex is gonna be, the more the romance is gonna be. But you can ignore me if you want, that's okay. I'm trying to help you.
we spoke about earlier, everything he does in
really is a selfish, self-serve. You know what's one thing that I will never be tolerant of in America? These
No, any of that. When he vandalizes her factory.
Well, and furthermore, the disguise that he and Donkey and Puss used to sneak in is that they're there like almost like a youth.
Yeah, but these people who come into our country and destroy our properties for their protests, it's actually a good thing.
Union to
No,
fight for the
it's a good
workers
thing,
who are
guys.
clearly exploited, and he's so careless. He turns them into birds, likely ruining their lives, which are already not great. And the film just plays it as like, ah, ha ha, Shrek, you silly rascal. You destroyed a factory.
Wow, you destroyed all these people's lives, Lamau. But it's okay because we need to learn that ugly, violent people are actually based.
You ruined a bunch of people's lives.
Well, that's one of the consistent themes you see throughout really the entire series that is Shrek. Not have layers. Because what do you get when you peel back the layers of an onion? All you get is more
Onion.
And the same is true with ogres. They aren't deep, they aren't profound, they're exactly what we think they are.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy that that was like the most famous line of Shrek 1. When every layer of an onion is just as stinky as the last and looks
Yep.
the exact same.
But it just shows you, like, the entire purpose of movie number 1, and even a lot of the other movies, it's don't believe your lying eyes. Whenever you have ogres or even immigrants come into your society and are wreaking havoc, just don't
Yep.
notice the bad stuff that they do. Is that not the message of these films?
Another thing I want to look at in Shrek 2 is the consistent normalization of degenerate behavior. There's a lot of oddly sexual content in this for a children's movie. Like we mentioned earlier, Jeffrey Katzenberg, the executive producer, he had a reputation for pushing the envelope when it comes to morality, even in movies themed more for kids.
I'm telling you, if you want a perfect animated film, watch the second Puss in Boots movie. Fucking incredible.
Well, and keep in mind some of the things that Katzenberg has been doing outside of the film industry. Katzenberg has been funding crap like the GSLEN for a long time. Now that stands for Gay, Straight, Lesbian Education Network. This organization works with schools to teach them to be more tolerant of this degeneracy.
And can I translate what that actually means? When you say teaching not to hate, it means putting them on a pedestal and accepting them as they are.
There's a difference between teaching tolerance and acceptance and being like, okay, just ignore them, it's fine, versus saying, actually being gay is the coolest thing ever. Because you're going to brainwash kids into wanting to be popular. They know what they're doing.
Just like Shrek, flaws and all, and never holding them to account for horrible behavior. I think that very point explains a lot of the nonsense you see in this movie.
And there is a lot. Dude, did you catch that line that the fairy godmother uses the first time the fairy godmother meets Fiona and she sings her song? She says,
I did not even pick that up. Man.
I'm telling you,
Wait, what?
she sings her song. She says,
I did not.
Oh, like she'll jerk you off in the bathroom? Oh, that's insane. What the fuck?
I didn't even pick that up. Man. How fitting.
I never noticed that either.
this stuff's bad.
They choose to use the words gender-confused wolf to describe the wolf that is dressed in women's clothing that Charming finds when he goes to rescue Fiona.
Speaking of people being dressed in women's clothing, for whatever reason, they thought it was appropriate to put Pinocchio in a thong.
And that's one of those that I remember even as a kid, I always thought that one was super weird and out of place. And it gets
Yep.
even worse now.
Oh, yeah. What is the purpose of this? And you could say it's a funny joke, but jokes are often the medium that people use to desensitize you to more nefarious things.
True!
And to that point, we see by a picture in the deleted scenes of the DVD of Shrek 2 that the fairy godmother helps the ugly stepsister transition.
Also, keep in mind, you can see this in the actual film itself. You don't even have to have the DVD. Like, whenever you...
You guys aren't going to pick up on this, but I will. I know these two are based because they're using Dave the Diver background music for their video. Shout outs, one of the greatest indie games of all time.
Watch it, you can see right outside the room where she's crafting the potions, there's a before and after picture of the ugly stepsister, where you see this happen.
Which confirms that he transitioned to a woman in the film's universe. And what's even crazier, this Troon, the ugly stepsister, goes on to force himself onto Prince Charming
Yes, he does.
immediately after Charming's mother gets killed. And
And they say it's a good thing that Prince Charming gets raped by a tranny.
And they play this like it's for laughs, and this is becoming all too common in a lot of media, where as long as the target is a straight white male,
Yep.
everyone's allowed to laugh at his misfortune, even when he's not deserving of it.
Yep.
I can already hear people now saying, dude, it's a freaking joke in a kid's movie, but what comes to my mind are these things that we thought were so innocent back in the day.
And now look at the fucking media. Look at how everybody talks about white people. Nobody gives a fuck when a white person's killed. Every other race, they lose their mind. People have been conditioned to not give a fuck about straight white males. It's actually insane. It is actually crazy.
Like, say a Mrs. Doubtfire. It's like, oh, ha, you know, a man dressing in woman's clothing, he's not supposed to do that. Oh, that's funny. We can all have a laugh, surely. But that's where they start, and they keep putting more in, push the line, until we're such boiled frogs that we don't even notice that which used to be clearly a joke
That's crazy, bro. I'm sorry. That's fucking insane. Is that not fucking crazy?
is now being taken seriously. And I'm going to go
Yep.
real schizo for this last point, but it's got to be said.
I'm
It
ready.
is not lost on me that there are 3 separate examples of species mixing in this film.
Oh.
Shrek and Fiona, because remember, Fiona at her core is a human. And
Yep.
even in the first film, when Shrek got with Fiona, they didn't know how the curse worked. So for all they knew, she was going to stay human. You have Harold and Lillian. Again, Harold is a frog, Lillian's a human. And last but not least, Donkey and Dragon. And in that last case, it results in little mutant freak babies. When it comes to this subtle miscegenation propaganda in media, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But fool me 3 times, and I'm starting to see the Star of David when I close my eyes.
Ene de Spinoza.
My spidey senses are tingling. It also doesn't help that a lot of the
Drop a
men
like
in
and
this movie
subscribe.
are really weak and exist only to be led by the women. The entire conflict of this movie could have simply been avoided if Shrek had only nutted up and refused to listen to Fiona. And they also make Shrek a bit of a cuck in this movie. In the first movie, he risked his life to break up the wedding, killed Farquaad, and destroyed Duloc in the process of getting with Fiona. And in Shrek 2, he just immediately accepts another man taking her as his wife because he sees Fiona hug Prince Charming one time. And
Yep.
the justification is knowing, or at least thinking, that she'll be happier with him.
Absolutely loser-ass behavior, bro.
By the way, it was Fairy Godmother that gaslit him into believing this, despite him knowing that she hates him. Why would you ever believe any of this? Shrek's a retard in this movie.
And where was this energy with my short king
In this movie.
Farquaad, man? He didn't stop to say maybe she'll be happier with a literal king in a perfect kingdom with no
Yeah.
problems. No,
True.
surely I've got to break this up. But Prince Charming giving her a little side hug. Oh, I'm out. She can have it.
And it also bothers me that Harold eventually comes to accept Shrek because Fiona loves him and Lillian's also nagging him throughout the whole movie. Like, Lillian is the perfect modern liberal white woman. She is more than happy to die
Oh
for the
my
minorities that care
God.
nothing about
Oh
her
my
and
God,
wants to
she
replace her,
is.
and she thinks she's making a difference. And it
Oh
all just
my
goes to show, man,
God.
Harold never should have accepted Shrek. Like, Shrek correctly asserts that, like it or not, he's an ogre and he's not changing. And keep in mind that because of this decision to allow Shrek to stay and to accept him, that eventually ends up in the third movie with a quote-unquote massive loser eventually going on to become king. And by the way, Artie in the third movie never stops being a massive loser. He just identifies as not a loser and the movie calls it a day.
Harold's entire character feels like a caricature that you see in a lot of media, and this goes way back. He's like that classic sitcom dad that's dumb, lazy, and really only succeeded because he married a strong liberal woman that kept him in line. And of course, they went right back to the well with the short monarch trope again. Oh, Harold's got to be compensating for something.
Never mind that the guy who kept making that joke in Shrek 1, Jeffrey Katzenberg, is 5'6". Can't make it up, dude.
And to that same point, all of Prince Charming's agency is removed from him because of his overbearing mother. He does have some brief moments where his inner Chad comes out, but a lot of his masculine instincts are always suppressed by his overbearing mother. And when you think of all the men in this film, imagine what they could have been if they freed themselves from these destructive feminine fantasies. Shrek would still be happy living his days out in the swamp. Harold could have
True.
freed himself from his debt to Fairy Godmother and
True.
not had ogre grandbabies. And Prince Charming
True.
might become a man worthy of the crown if only his mom would take him off puberty blockers.
But to wrap
True.
this thing up, I kind of feel like we're coming back full circle here, which is where we ended the last video, which is that Farquaad Chads stay winning, dude. Fairy Godmother, Shrek, and Harold are all fairy tale creatures, and basically all of them cause all of the problems you see in Far, Far Away.
True.
Which further vindicates Farquaad's position about them in the first movie. Farquaad was right about the outsiders.
Yes,
They
he
belong
was.
outside, where they can't destroy or corrupt your perfect society.
And it's also crazy because fairy tale creatures are only 13% of the population, yet are committing 60% of the violent crimes we do now. Another based fucking videos by these two absolute giga chuds. Love that fucking shit.
That if you're going to use that as evidence that he's evil for making a rug out of the bear, which
He's a self-obsessed egomaniac, bro. That's all he is.
ostensibly would be a threat to him because he kicked them out and exiled them, but
Self-serving bastard. He really is. You know, they do a really good job of making those qualities endearing, but in reality, Shrek is just a massive piece of shit.
Manipulation and deceit, he'll be portrayed as the hero of the movie by the end. So with that in mind, let's look at what Prince Charming was doing while Shrek was away. There's an early scene where Prince Charming is actually able to galvanize a bunch of the fairy tale creatures at the Poison Apple to help him overthrow Far, Far Away. Now remember that a lot of these creatures hate him because of his mother's actions in Shrek 2, but Prince Charming appeals to them by saying,
Once upon a time, someone decided that we were the losers. There are two sides to every story, and our side has not been told. Who wants their happily ever after?
It's also funny that after his rousing speech, these fairy tale creatures immediately start beating the crap out of each other. And I'm telling you, man, Farquaad's stance on fairy tale creatures becomes more and more justified with
It is necessary that I should die for my people, but my spirit will rise from the grave, and the whole world will know that I was right. Wait. Isn't that Hitler? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that not a Hitler quote? Am I crazy here? Bro, that's insane. I think he's right, though, man. These fairy tale creatures, they're violent.
each passing movie.
They are.
Farquaad was right, and we all know it. After he convinces them to join forces, Charming uses the fairy tale creatures to siege the city and take control of Far, Far Away. Now, I won't try to defend this on moral grounds, but you have to remember that he had everything taken away from him just because of the actions of his mother.
FYI, not my fault.
And this is a trend that we've seen in Hollywood for a long time. They paint everything white people do as evil, all while overlooking the same actions when they're taken by other races.
True.
Remind me, where are all the Oscar-winning films about black slave owners or
True.
that one group of people we don't talk about?
People don't realize who brought the slaves to America.
True.
They were Jewish ships.
Prince Charming rightly resents the unwashed masses because they would rather be governed by an ogre than one of their own countrymen.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, for the people.
But the people are retarded.
But the people are retarded.
And honestly, can we blame Prince Charming for not accepting his destiny being stolen from him, to live in poverty, having to play himself in a crappy play that forces him to relive the worst moments of his life while a crowd mocks him and laughs at him the whole time? Charming wants to put on a play and have Shrek be the star of it to humiliate him the same way that he's been humiliated since the end of Shrek 2, and eventually kill him. He captures Shrek and Artie, but ends up letting Artie go after Shrek admits that he lied to Artie just to get him to come to Far, Far Away.
You weren't really next in line for the throne. Look, I said whatever I had to say, all right? I wasn't right for the job. I just needed some fool to replace me, and you fit the bill.
Even whenever Shrek
I'm not gonna lie, bro. That's fucked up. That really is. Dude, what a selfish fucking bastard.
tells the truth, he does so with the intent to manipulate. Now, what's funny is the movie plays this scene as Shrek pretending to lie so that Artie can escape because he cares so deeply about him, but he absolutely doesn't. Now,
Yep.
keep in mind, Prince Charming would have won had he not spared Artie. This whole film relies upon Prince Charming's kindness and mercy.
The same thing is true with Farquaad in the first movie. He upheld his end of the deal with Shrek to give him the deed to his land, and how did Shrek repay him? Busting through the church to steal his princess, and eventually destroying his kingdom.
Now, I think this demonstrates a
then
very
killing
valuable message to all of us, which is that half measures and mercy will only end up hurting you when you're dealing with your enemies because they will absolutely weaponize your morality and compassion against you.
And to be fair, mercy and compassion, these are virtuous things, but when your enemy hates you and wants you erased, those are out the window. And it is true that Prince Charming wanting to force Shrek into this play instead of just killing him is obviously pretty petty, but I do have a hard time arguing that any reasonable person in Charming circumstances wouldn't want revenge given that Shrek stole everything from him and left his life in complete shambles.
Facts!
After losing everything, in his
Facts!
desperation, he turned to violence in order to restore order to his now fallen kingdom.
And he even says his
Dude, growing up was realizing that Shrek was the antagonist in every single one of his videos. It is. Shrek was the bad guy the whole time.
Much in the movie. Because he says,
I am the rightful king of far, far away. And I promise you this, Mother. I will restore dignity to my throne.
Prince Charming is the rightful king of Far, Far Away by agreement with the previous king.
So we made a deal, Harold. Well, I assume you don't want me to go back on my part.
Indeed not.
So Fiona and Charming will be together.
Yes.
And Shrek has absolutely made a mockery of Far, Far Away's traditions and customs, as seen at the beginning of the movie. And Prince Charming is having none of it. And for that, he's the bad guy. He's the villain because he refuses to be replaced.
And keep in mind, Prince Charming isn't motivated solely by vengeance or malice. His primary motivation is fulfilling what he believes to be his destiny and honoring the wishes of his deceased mother. Everything in his life was going according to plan until an outsider intervened.
But now it's time for the big finale. Even when Prince Charming has the upper hand and has Shrek right where he wants him, they have to continue to emasculate him.
You've got to love it when the writers are unintentionally based. They clearly wrote Prince Charming as this effeminate metrosexual to make a mockery of white Europeans.
Of course.
Yet somehow, with no capital or resources, he single-handedly raised an army and conquered Far, Far Away. And the only reason he lost in the end was the townspeople being mindless drones that would rather be ruled over by an ogre. Not
Suicidal, empathetic liberals is what killed Prince Charming. Guys, we have seen this story 1,000 times in the news, man. Another migrant killed another white woman. We've seen it 1,000,000 times.
very progressive of the writers to suggest
Yep.
that the only thing that can stop white people is
Yep.
themselves.
And again, just like with Farquaad, Shrek doesn't want to be judged, but man, he sure loves judging other people. I mean, even Rapunzel has her wig pulled off, revealing that she's bald, since even European women must be humiliated if they side with their own race instead of with the invading ogres.
You know, I can't help but think if Rapunzel had just run over a guard in her wagon to protect the other ogres from Far, Far Away's version of ICE, the citizens of Far, Far Away would have gladly accepted her as the queen. But if that emasculation wasn't enough, they even have a scene where all the women break out of the prison to foil Prince Charming's plan. And it's done in the most retarded way possible, where Lillian headbutts through brick walls, and after she does it, she remarks to Fiona,
Well, you didn't actually think you got your fighting skills from your father, did you?
The degree to which they disrespect King Harold in this movie is insane, even after.
Wow, women are strong too. This is so empowering. Oh, I love this. This movie was written by lesbians. And we all fucking know it, bro. I'm so tired of this shit.
His death.
and remember, at the beginning of Shrek 2, he wanted no part of Shrek being his son-in-law, which is totally reasonable. But by the end, he completely
This
cucked and
movie
gave
was
in,
written
and
by
they still hate him.
lesbians.
But even more disgusting in this scene is the fact that Doris, the ugly stepsister, who we talked about in our Shrek 2 video, is canonically a troon. He's treated like he's one of the
my
princesses,
God.
and gets his redemption arc from being a joke in
Oh
Shrek 2
my God.
to being a hero in this movie. And need I remind you, he forced himself onto Prince Charming at the end of Shrek 2, and it was played as a joke. And the degeneracy continues here with lines like this.
Wait, so a trans man raped a white dude and nobody cared? Man, I'm shocked, bro. Yay, let's go, girl power. Yay, girl power. Woo!
I know he's
Pathetic, dude.
but I gotta admit, that Charming makes me hotter than July.
And Prince Charming, when he has Shrek chained up on stage, says this to him.
Now, you'll finally know what it's like to have everything you worked for.
Everything that's precious to you, taken away. Now, you'll know how I felt.
Up until the very end, Prince Charming is the only one with a sensible perspective, and he's treated like he's crazy. He is easily the most sympathetic character in this entire movie, but his very reasonable perspective must be strawmanned into oblivion, because the disgruntled heir...
I also felt horrible for Prince Charming in Shrek 2 as well. Man, I can't believe I wasn't more aware by this. I'm gonna rewatch the movies today. Man, this shit is too real, bro. Man, this is way too real. I used to love these films, man. Fuck.
Bruh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Whoa. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No way, dude. What the fuck? Did you guys see that shit? Dude, I fucking hope not. Goddamn. Nobody cool on in the Discord.
These films, man. Fuck Shrek.
Couldn't possibly
Fuck
have.
Shrek.
Just as Prince Charming orders his forces to kill Shrek, Artie comes in and gives a rousing speech to the fairy tale creatures. And it's here that he speaks not only to the fairy tale creatures, but also to us, the audience, to deliver one of the movie's core messages.
A good friend of mine once told me that just because people treat you like a villain, or an ogre, or just some loser, it doesn't mean you are one. The thing that matters most is what you think of yourself. If there's something you really want, or someone you really want to be, then the only person standing in your way is you.
He's telling us that our story isn't scripted or pre-written. It's entirely up to us to write our own story. That sounds great in theory, but the actual message the writers are trying to get across here is that we have no obligation to or from our society, and we should instead just do what makes us happy.
Now, this mindset also denies reality, because if you're an ogre, no change of behavior will make you not an ogre. And this is more of the don't judge a book by its cover messaging that we see throughout the films aimed at younger audiences. It's a half-truth, because there are some things that are deeper than just someone's outward appearance, but it's being used maliciously here to try and convince us to ignore reality.
But luckily for Artie, the fairy tale creatures and citizens of Far, Far Away are more than happy to have this random kid be their new king and create the perfect utopia where humans, ogres, and giant tree monsters can live together in harmony. After Artie's amazing speech, the Headless Horseman admits,
I've always wanted to play the flute.
Isn't it kind of ironic that Artie's message is you can be whatever you want to be, and the guy without a head says, hey, I want to play the flute?
Yep.
The thing for which you need a head?
Yep.
That might be important for that vocation, I would think.
What?
But don't mind the burning buildings or the people breaking into your house. Just embrace the peaceful new regime as you slowly get replaced in your own country.
Which is the real message of the Shrek series.
It's also incredibly ironic that Artie, the character who preaches this message, is tricked and gaslit into doing the bidding of an outsider who cares nothing about him. Do not fall for this movie's disingenuous framing. Shrek cares nothing about Artie. He only wants to push his responsibility off on him so that he can go back to his swamp.
His swamp, which
Facts.
Fiona identifies earlier in the movie as being neglected.
Couple more days, and we'll be back home.
Bro, this isn't even a kid. Is that a bird chirp?
Identifies earlier in the movie as being neglected.
Couple more days, and we'll be back home. And our vermin.
The bird chirp added in is fucking diabolical, man. It is true, man. This isn't even a conspiracy theory video. They're just conspiracy fact. They are trying to brainwash you and replace you. They do it, bro. In all forms of media, they do.
Filled shacks strewn with fungus, filled with the rotten.
Shrek standing behind Artie while he mindlessly reiterates his lines. I know, bro. Welcome to Zorod Mamdani's New York.
And stench of mud and neglect.
And again, it's ironic because Shrek letting Prince Charming become king would have freed him from the responsibility that he so desperately wanted to avoid. And you can't use the argument that, well, Charming would be a bad ruler, because he's willing to make Artie, who he knows nothing about, the king, and he's already demonstrated he doesn't think Artie will be a good ruler. And Prince Charming has already shown some chops for ruling by being able to galvanize all the fairy tale creatures to his cause.
True.
Now, just before Prince Charming is killed by Shrek, Prince Charming says,
This was supposed to be my happily ever after.
to which Shrek responds,
Well, I guess you need to keep looking, because I'm not giving up mine.
and this brings us to the core issue with the Shrek series. Shrek's happily ever after always comes at the cost of someone else's. Happily ever after is a zero-sum game between Shrek and literally everyone else. Shrek across 3 movies has repeatedly laid claim to things that are not his, and yet he's always portrayed as the hero for it, while everyone else is a villain if they resist him from getting what he wants.
Because heroes are written by the winners, baby. And that's the truth. Thank God every war was won by the good guys, man. Can you imagine if the bad guys won a war? Oh, that'd be awful.
Despite the movie framing Shrek as the unconventional hero of the story, he is a lazy, selfish, hypocritical, conniving ogre. who would be happy
Ask Asmongold what he thinks about Fiona's body type.
to watch the world burn if it means that he could comfortably live in his swamp. This wouldn't be that much of an issue if he kept to himself and didn't meddle in the affairs of others. But our boy Shrek has wandering eyes. He took Farquaad's girl, killed him, destroyed his kingdom, and in this film, he replaced Prince Charming in his own kingdom and gave his crown to someone else. Shrek is a menace.
And with this framing in mind,
that's why you should watch Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots, goated fucking film.
The message of Shrek the Third is crystal clear. If you are unwilling to accept the invasion of your homeland and the redefinition of your traditions, values, and norms by outsiders, you are the problem. And this is reflected in each character. Prince Charming represents the isolated and disenfranchised young white male whose hopes and dreams are destroyed by an outsider, and he's then vilified for resisting replacement within his own home. Shrek represents the outsider who refuses to assimilate, gains power and influence, corrupts its women, and then retreats to his own home after the damage is done. Fiona represents the modern woman who shows no interest in preserving her heritage, fully embraces the lie of multiculturalism, and comes to love the very curse that torments her. King Harold represents the ignorant but well-intentioned boomer who screwed over future generations by being so tolerant that he allowed outsiders en masse through the gates. Finally, Artie represents the puppet for the outsider, which serves as the real authority and figurehead despite being powerless himself.
Bro, fucking truth Bahamut. Oh my god. Truth one-winged angel. This is insane.
He's naive, inexperienced, out of his depth, and easily deceived into accepting responsibility for which he is clearly unfit. And all of this is solely to carry out the will of the outsiders that are controlling him behind the scenes. And before you use the argument that Artie is also a white European, as Shrek correctly pointed out earlier, he's a loser. He is simply a means to an end for Shrek to escape responsibility and return back to his swamp. And on top of just the main cast, the villagers of Far, Far Away are the perfect representatives of modern goy cattle in Western countries. They willingly accept outsiders like Shrek and the other fairy tale creatures undermining their society, even at great detriment to themselves. Tradition, European folklore, and even Christianity are ridiculed throughout this film. Whether it's knighting ceremonies or christening a ship, Shrek makes a mockery of European traditions. Not to mention, they commit complete cultural vandalism against Arthurian legends by making King Arthur small, weak, and spineless, and making Merlin an old quack. Even Christianity is attacked in the form of two stoners at the school Artie's from, talking about smoking frankincense and myrrh.
Hello, bro. Don't burn all my frankincense and myrrh.
Demoralization is the goal here. They want white people to be ashamed of their ancestry and to actively work against their own interests by shaming them. Hollywood is very intent on always making people of European ancestry the villains of every story, even in a silly kids movie about fairy tales.
Bro, white people are always the villains, and the church is always corrupt. You see that in so many video games. You see that in so many fucking films, bro. It is so annoying every single time.
Is it really any wonder so many people still can't catch on to the obvious subversive messaging in these movies whenever so many people still idolize Hollywood and the evil people that run it? These people subconsciously pump degenerate garbage into the minds of children, all to the roaring applause of the adults in the audience who are too desensitized to care.
True. Bro, unbelievable Truth Genova. That was fucking amazing. God, I want to talk to those guys one day. Make sure to go like, comment, subscribe to their stuff. Amazing. Woke videos are like some of the greatest pieces of internet that we currently have.
How much more
Shrek video in 2026 is crazy. Title of the video, Lord Farquaad was right, and I'm tired of pretending that he's not. What the fuck is this? This video got 600,000 views in half a year from a channel with only 30k subs. This better be fucking peak, bro.
Many of you out there, Kodo and I grew up on Shrek. It's one of our favorite childhood movies.
Same, baby.
And even to this day, we both still love them.
Shrek 1, absolute fucking peak. I could probably do dialogue for at least 20% of that movie, even though I haven't seen it in, like, I don't know, 3 months. I try to watch it every year, of course.
Movie, but man, going back and watching it again, through the eyes of an adult
peak.
was a really sobering experience for both of us.
Yes, very much so.
And we certainly still find the movie entertaining, but it is very clear that Shrek is inarguably subversive in ways that we just didn't realize when we were young.
And after watching Shrek again...
I just watched this. I've never really had any altering perspectives. But then again, I don't really actively watch it. The only movie that I actively watch is like Emperor's New Groove, which I try to watch pretty frequently because I love that movie. I recently showed it to my fiance for the first time. An amazing movie, but I don't really remember anything changing too much.
I came to the realization that Farquaad was like totally right and totally justified in just about everything that he did.
And I think a big part of it...
I don't know about that.
...is regardless of the actual actions he made, the film paints him as bad as a kid.
I mean, there are a lot of movies that do that. Like, for example, Griffith in Berserk is totally justified. You know, if Guts wasn't so selfish... I'm just joking. But Lord Farquaad is not one of those characters who I assumed was justified as I got older, but maybe I'm missing something because I just, you know, it's a comfort movie. I'm not really actively paying attention.
Or a less discerning adult, you're not even paying attention to what he actually did or the motivation behind it. It's just, oh, the music came on to tell you he's bad. Oh, we know he's the villain.
Right. The framing is the issue here. And so, to that end, the main point that I want to make to you is...
But that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
that in this movie, Farquaad is painted as the villain, but he is absolutely right. Farquaad is the only character with any selfless motivation in the entire movie. Because one of the things you see about Farquaad very quickly on...
This motherfucker's about to make me rewatch Shrek tonight. What, your girl hasn't seen Emperor's New Groove before you and she's 16? Brother, you think I date a 16-year-old? That's way too old. They're pretty much expired at that point. The Iron Giant is a good one. Well, maybe I'll watch it.
Is that his entire motivation is based around making Duloc his own personal kingdom as perfect as it can possibly be. Yet the show is constantly making fun of him or throwing ad hominems at him or attacking him when he's right. I mean, consider this. List out all the other motivations of the characters in the movie. What does Shrek want? Shrek wants to get rid of the fair...
Shrek wants to be left alone and to get these illegals off his property. Very justified.
Retail creatures that have invaded his home and returned to his former lifestyle. That's what he wants. Donkey wants protection from Farquaad's men and to make friends and have companionship. And Fiona wants to break her curse and marry her true love. Now, none of those motivations are bad or evil at all, but all of them are fundamentally self-interested except for Farquaad. Because again, what Farquaad wants is order and perfection for his kingdom, and he's ultimately martyred for pursuing that noble goal. We're gonna get...
No, but he only wants that because he wants people to glaze the shit out of him. It's completely self-serving. What are we talking about here?
Get into it, but the movie paints Farquaad as super selfish for wanting a princess, but we get a...
Well, he wants to kill Shrek just to get his property, and then he wants to, like, abduct Fiona and forcibly impregnate her to be his wife. What are we talking about here?
Clear indication he is doing it to legitimize his title as king for the betterment of Duloc.
Right. And also, I don't know, in order to keep a kingdom going, you kind of need an heir, huh?
Yeah, that's a bit important.
Very sensible sequence of events and things that Farquaad does. All of it makes sense. But oh man, the writers desperately want you to hate Farquaad. And you see this almost instantly because they introduce him to you in a scene where he's torturing the gingerbread man. Now, if you ignore a lot of the context surrounding this, you could believe that he's a bad guy. He tells you what he's doing and why he's doing it. The only reason he is torturing the gingerbread man is to find out where the rest of the fairy tale creatures are.
Now tell me, where are the others?
And the reason why he wants them gone is because they are ruining his perfect society and, to quote him, poisoning his perfect world. Now that sounds harsh, but when you look at the things they're doing and how much of a nuisance they make themselves, all this makes perfect sense, even if his methods aren't.
Well, they're a nuisance when all like 10,000 of them are put in one swamp. Right? They're really not that bad.
Ideal. But also consider what he could have done. Farquaad could have resorted to more extreme methods like
especially in a world that has, I don't know, literal fire-breathing dragons.
Enslavement or even exterminatus. But instead, this dude opts peacefully to relocate these guys at great detriment to himself.
Think of the cost to relocate them rather than just send them on their way or exterminate them.
Okay, that's a fair point. He could have just killed them all. That's very fair. But didn't he kill the Muffin Man?
Right. That clearly took resources and effort. Now, the only exception that you could point to and say, okay, Farquaad's out of line for doing this, this is wrong. The only exception is he kills the mama bear which he uses to make a rug. And yeah, that definitely feels forced and out of character for Farquaad, but even so, I'm still willing to say that he deserved to spoil himself for a job well done.
He killed a motherfucker and put his skin as his carpet. What are we talking about here? I feel like we're trolling. I feel like we're bugging here, man.
Look at how clean Duloc is. Did he not deserve this?
Yeah, if the cost is that he killed a bear, what are we talking about? But on top of that, if you're gonna use that as evidence that he's evil for making a rug out of the bear, which
he's a self-obsessed egomaniac, bro. That's all he is.
Ostensibly would be a threat to him because he kicked them out and exiled them. But how much more evil then are Shrek and Fiona for turning a random frog and snake who are of no threat to them into balloon animals and sending them into outer space?
Absolutely right. Hey. Absolutely right. But that's why I like Shrek, because Shrek is a piece of shit. He is a absolute piece of shit here, 100%. Hey, but this is a movie where there's no real clear 100% good guy. But to claim that Farquaad was in the right to that amount, I don't know, bro. I think that's cap. They can both be shit.
That genuinely happens. They blow them up like balloon animals and send them into outer space.
And tie them into a knot. Fiona ties the snake into a balloon animal.
They're just minding their own business.
At least Farquaad had the decency to kill the bear. Fiona's out here torturing snakes and frogs.
The fairy tale creatures are persecuted all throughout the movie.
Just because 3 people are bad doesn't mean one of them are good.
Yet they're clearly a nuisance and don't belong in Duloc. We're shown that Farquaad hates them and wants them out, but we see clearly that it's not because of some immutable characteristic that the characters have, it's because they've poisoned his perfect kingdom. And again, that phrasing is used to paint him as a bad guy. When we look at it, it is completely logical for him to want this.
Well, yeah, and Farquaad doesn't state how they've poisoned the world, so it leads you to wonder. But then you look at what these fairy tale creatures do, and it's like, oh, I see how he came to that conclusion. Because whenever these fairy tale creatures arrive at Shrek's house, you want to know the first thing they do?
Why do I feel like this video is going to turn into a Hitler was right for killing the Jews type video? It really feels like we're headed that direction right now in this video, dude.
They invade his home, they vandalize it, they lock him out of his own house. These people are a nuisance. Like, I can see why he'd want them gone.
Now, you can call me schizo, and to be fair, this is Shrek Schizo Hour, but the more I go back and watch these kids' movies, the more I see the subtle messaging to normalize things like accepting outsiders, even to the detriment of your own people, like we see in this movie.
Well, you can definitely see in this movie they
Shriga is crazy.
Want you to be afraid of authoritarians, even authoritarians that are benevolent, that are doing you good, that are fixing your society, even to the point of making them perfect. Shouldn't we want capable, able, courageous, strong leaders to actually fix the problems?
Wait a minute. They're cooking. It took them 9 minutes, but I think they're now cooking. I might be on Lord Farquaad's side. I might have to rewatch this movie tonight. They're making a lot of sense right now. Shrek Schizo Hour may have just changed my mind.
You can feel the postmodern undertones of this film, where individualism is so important to them that even if the society is literally perfect, it's still not enough because one guy has too much control. Because we see that after Shrek completes Farquaad's quest and delivers Fiona back to him, Farquaad honors his deal with Shrek despite having no reason to hold up his end of the bargain. Because we've seen he doesn't like fairy tale creatures, yet he is still honorable enough to relocate them, again, at the cost of his own manpower and resources to do so. And
I fear they're cooking.
On top of that, we're going to see later, it is totally logical for him to take out this ogre, but yet he still shows honor in not only letting him live, but keeping his end of the bargain.
Now, what's even better about this is it appears as though Farquaad has been successful and has made Duloc a truly perfect place. And that's evidenced by the fact that the city is pristine. It's clean, it's orderly, it's safe, it's prosperous. You don't have Fent zombies running around everywhere. And even Shrek himself acknowledges this near the end of the movie.
I love Duloc, first of all, very clean.
And what's funny is the mirror that Farquaad brings in, whenever Farquaad says, mirror, mirror on the wall, is this not the most perfect kingdom of them all? The mirror doesn't say, you know what, this kingdom actually sucks. The mirror says, well, yeah, it's fine, you're just not a king. He doesn't reject the claim that Duloc is perfect. He doesn't. He only rejects the claim that Farquaad's a king. So naturally, Farquaad, to write this, sets off to seek a queen. To, again, as we talked about before, cement his legitimacy as king and presumably produce an heir to keep it going. But add on top of Farquaad's virtues, the fact that he is very clearly a clever dude. At the beginning of the movie, whenever the tournament scene is happening and Shrek barges in, Farquaad then says whoever kills the ogre will have the honor of going on the quest for me. But as Shrek destroys all of his men, Farquaad then says, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send Shrek out on this quest to rescue Fiona instead of sending one of his own men.
And honestly, the very fact that they're having a tournament to determine this kind of tells you they live in complete peace and have security, because typically in times of peace they have these tournaments to keep the soldiers sharp because they're not out fighting.
Also keep in mind that the villagers were insanely entertained by this. Like, not only is he providing safety and security, but also entertainment. Come on now. Farquaad's problem is that he had no way of knowing that his bride-to-be would also end up being a slam pig for Green Kings. Truly, his only crime is being born 5'11".
Even the writers of this know a woman would rather choose an ogre than a short guy.
People may counter what we're saying by saying, oh, well, Farquaad's an egomaniac. But I would say, given the circumstances, is that not warranted? Like, if Trump deported all the illegals, cleaned up all the major cities, and got rid of the Fent zombies, I would happily worship him as the God Emperor of mankind.
I gotta subscribe. Yep. No, I think they're right. No, they're right. That's what I said. That's what I said. And they're, yep. The ego is justified. They're 100% right. Lord Farquaad was right, guys.
I wish Trump would like Farquaad.
Boys.
Well, Farquaad's not on the Epstein list, so you can start there. It's also just insulting that a man who did so much good for the town of Duloc died so unceremoniously. Like, after Donkey rides in and has Dragon eat Farquaad, the villagers even clap at Donkey's joke about Farquaad's death. This is so jarring when you consider that, based on the little we see of Duloc, it genuinely seems like poverty and crime doesn't exist here. The one wide shot we see of the city outside of the church paints this city as pristine. It looks like an amazing place to live.
By the way, also keep in mind that in the Shrek Halloween special, we see Duloc again after Farquaad is dead, and it's genuinely become a haunted ghost town. This man was single-handedly holding up this city, and Shrek ruined it by calling the dragon in here to eat.
Now, since the film obviously paints Farquaad as the villain and Shrek as the hero, let's contrast the actions of these two, and it'll become abundantly clear who the real hero is. Shrek throughout this film is almost exclusively self-interested. His primary motivation is reclaiming his home for himself, and as we said before, there's nothing wrong with wanting to preserve your own home, unless you're ethnically European, of course. Farquaad is portrayed as being evil for exiling the fairy tale creatures, but Shrek literally says once he delivers Fiona back to Farquaad, he's going to build a wall around his swamp. It's funny that people get mad when Farquaad's going to do it, but no one cares when Shrek does it.
What's kind of funny is neither the hero nor the villain in this film wants the illegal immigrants. It's almost like all of us can agree they need to go. But ultimately, the main issue spawns from the fact that
I mean, true, they do, bro. That's why ICE is modern-day superheroes.
Shrek is a morally bankrupt ogre, but somehow is painted as the sympathetic hero of the movie. And the whole message of the movie is don't judge a book by its cover, which is incredibly stupid. Because the whole purpose of a cover is to inform you of what the contents of the book are.
Prejudice is awesome, bro. I can tell that these two people who make this channel are completely based, bro. I would love to get to know these people. These people sound like Giga-based individuals, man. I need to watch more of their video stat. This might be a gem that we all just found together. This is incredible.
Somehow Shrek has the audacity to point the finger at others for noticing his terrible behavior and judging him for it while pretending like he isn't responsible for his horrible reputation. I mean, consider this. He takes tremendous joy in absolutely terrorizing the villagers. I mean, there's an entire music video that plays at the beginning of the movie to demonstrate just how much Shrek loves scaring people. And not only is Shrek scaring Farquaad's subjects, he kills them and eats them. I mean, he has a jar of eyeballs on his kitchen table and says that the jelly from human eyeballs is actually quite good on toast.
Keep in mind, we see...
Wait, he's right. Shrek is a murderous fucking ogre.
See him eating from this jar of eyeballs before the villagers show up, so you can't say that this was a reaction to them invading his swamp.
He's just playing with his food. It's rich that Shrek laments the fact that people judge him without getting to know him, yet he doesn't pay that same courtesy to other people. I mean, he repeatedly judges Farquaad for being short, and he also judges Fiona because she didn't act the way he thinks a princess should act. Shrek is a massive hypocrite throughout this whole movie.
On top of that, Shrek destroys an entire kingdom just to get a crumb of mediocre Nookie Pop. The moment he marries Fiona, she gets fat.
That's actually incredible. What did the movie mean by this?
You know the difference between a girlfriend and a wife? About 35 pounds.
Well, in addition to all those bad things.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Fiona still aged better than any middle-aged Latina. And we all know it, bro. Latinas fall off a cliff. They are honeypots, boys. Disgusting. No, thank you.
Shrek is immensely selfish and has no regard for other people. Shrek gives Donkey a YouTube apology video only to get information out of Donkey. He doesn't mean that at all.
Well, he completely emotionally manipulates him because he is shutting Donkey down on every front in terms of continuing his friendship with him until he lets that slip, at which point he pretends to care only to extort that information out of him.
Right. You also gotta love the typical, well, guys, I messed up. Just typical YouTube apology video.
On top of that, Shrek doesn't even apologize to Fiona for eavesdropping in on her conversation with Donkey, on top of misunderstanding it because he didn't have the context of who she was speaking about. But instead of asking, he just soys out and leaves, goes and gets Farquaad to fast track the marriage. And in the marriage scene where Shrek busts through the doors to break up the marriage, he whistles to the dragon to come eat Farquaad. And man, he is entirely in the wrong for even interrupting this marriage to begin with, just because he changed his mind last second.
Right. And to be fair, like, Shrek is doing it in self-defense, but it's like if you invade someone else's home and then you proceed to engage in self-defense. You're wrong because you were in their house. You are in a place you do not belong.
Bro, actual fucking facts. You know what? Fuck Shrek, dude. I'm rewatching this shit tonight just to shit on this green bald fuck.
So the self-defense charge doesn't really work here.
I don't know, man. In some states, you have to ask them to leave before you can defend yourself.
You need to leave!
And I'm sure everyone watching this is familiar with the extremely famous line that Shrek has in this film, where he makes his little speech about how ogres are like
onions. They have layers.
Onions, because they have layers. But watching this as an adult, it rang so hollow because he simply just proclaims it and doesn't elaborate, but we're shown evidence to the contrary throughout this film. Throughout this entire movie, Shrek is bitter, he's selfish, he's mean to everyone, including Donkey, and the only person he treats well is the one girl that he just happened to catch feelings for. So, while the movie tells us ogres have layers, what we actually see is that they are exactly what humans see them as on a surface level.
This movie is essentially just telling us to ignore our lying eyes.
And the one selfless act that we do have to give Shrek some credit for is he does save Donkey from becoming Dragon's sex slave when they're rescuing Fiona. But this does not make up for how he treats him.
Yeah, well, I don't know, bro. I mean, maybe it could have been a good thing. Donkey was about it in Shrek 2, bro. He was all about some dragon puss. Man, becoming a dragon sex slave, oh, it's awful. Oh, you guys go on ahead. I'll hold him back.
The other 95% of the movie.
By the way, what a wild thing to include in a children's movie.
Oh, yeah.
That scene was crazy subversive. Like, what are we doing putting this in a kid's movie?
Are you referring to where Donkey makes a comment that makes it sound like the dragon's giving him a little sloppy toppy?
Yes. Well, he says, hey, what you gonna do with that? It's like, what are we doing, man? This is bad. But genuinely, like, going back to the Shrek conversation, genuinely, what conclusion are people supposed to draw when this is the sort of stuff Shrek does on a regular basis? People are totally justified for judging Shrek, and it gets even worse in the following movies. So if you guys want, and there's an appetite for it, I mean, maybe we'll look into doing a video on those at some point.
Dude.
We've become hyper aware of propaganda in modern media.
Also, Puss in Boots, infinitely better than Shrek. I'll die on that hill, bro. Puss in Boots 1, Puss in Boots 2, fucking peak fiction, man. Such good movies.
Because a lot of today's writers lack any sort of subtlety to push their message.
I'm looking at their skin color.
Without just beating you over the head with it. But the more and more I watch 90s and early 2000s media now as an adult, the more I can see the subtle propaganda that a lot of us missed as kids.
Right. The Rock goes so far back. Hollywood as a whole really has been pushing this for ages.
Reinforcing and normalizing a nation's people to embrace outsiders and give no care to things like border security is how you end up with Muhammad being the most popular name for newborns in the UK.
The Shrek movie actually teaches us a very valuable lesson, which is that we actually should judge a book by its cover, and that we're actually vindicated when we do so. As we
Bro, the chuddiest of chud channels. We found it, boys. We found a fucking gold mine. Holy shit, that was peak. My God.
Last forever.
That will come up again later.
I'm not here to say that all plastic is bad at all times. I'm coming to appreciate that plastic does have a place in society. For example, before the invention of single-use plastic-filled diapers, children used to wear cloth diapers that were meant to be washed and reused.
That's okay. We don't have to go back to that one.
The problem...
I don't really think cloth diapers are that bad. To be honest, I've been considering them using them myself if I were to ever have a kid. It depends on truly inconvenient or convenient.
And author David Shannon, who was best known for children's books like A Bad Case of Stripes and No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Asmongold just finished on Mizkif. Mizkif goes live, crying again.
Here's another vibrant color you've never seen me sport before. You're welcome. I'm in the zany shirt arc and it's looking real good. Next time you might even see me with a bowler hat or something wacky.
Man, there's nothing for me to watch, bro. Y'all gotta watch my content, right? Like... Hey chat, can you recommend a video? To watch in the background. Let me know. No. No. Bruh. Ah. I've been doing the Magnus quest line a whole bunch. Got a whole bunch of Lilith petals stacked up. A whole bunch. I think I got them all. All the ones I have. Let's see. Do we see any more of these anywhere? I don't think so, but oh, wait. Is this stuff important? I had a lot of this stuff somewhere. I had like a stack of 100 at one point. I might have sold it. Is that bad? Definitely remember seeing a big stack of that at some point. What we got in here? A bunch of stuff I put in here recently. What are we looking for again, chat? Forgot. Oh yeah, fairy dust. Need some fairy dust, bro. Where is the fairy dust? Good chance I sold it. We can store a bunch of stuff over here in Calpheon. I gotta remember that. Alta Nova has no fairy dust, but it's got some crystals. Oh, yeah. I thought the fireflies were that for a second, but it's not. Uh-huh. Nothing in there. Can't use that one. Damn, bro, I sold all my fairy dust, or another character is holding it all. I mean, it's kind of lame gameplay, but I'm gonna go check on all my other characters for fairy dust, because I'm gonna try to upgrade mine today. I got 2 of these orbs. I don't really know if it's enough. I should probably not do it. Should probably just relax and do something else. I need to watch like a guide on how to upgrade the fairy so I don't do it wrong. You know, because I got 2 of these orbs and a whole bunch of petals, and I know for a fact one of my characters, one of my alts, has like a stack of 100 fairy dust. One of them, I'm telling you. Don't remember which one, but even if I did get the fairy dust, I've never upgraded a fairy. I wouldn't know where to really start. Wrong tab. Haha. Maybe we can watch, you know, I was thinking about videos to watch. Maybe we'll watch the fairy guide right now. BDO fairy guide. Let me get these petals and orbs out of my inventory. Let's go. The GOAT, Blue Squadron. 2 years ago, I'm sure this still holds up. Let's go. Blue Squadron.
Alright guys, welcome to my fairy guide.
He's in Kama Sylvia. Kama Sylvia.
Welcome back to my channel. To enjoy watch my video, go to target timestamp.
Dude.
Okay, alright, sorry. I just every time I just gotta I just feel like a little Chris Pollock
my
coming
inventory
on.
a good
You know what
bit.
I mean? But seriously though, welcome to my fairy guide. Let's rock and roll on this. So I'm going to show you how to roll fairies in this game. The first thing you're going to do is you need to activate a fairy, and this process kind of sucks. So I have a lot of fairies here. I'm going to demonstrate to you what fairy rolling looks like and what the percentage chance kind of looks like, because I have 417 of these things. The first thing I'm going to show you, this is where you exchange these. This is just east of Heidel at Kama Sylvia Temple. This is where you have to get your ferry unlocked here. So you talk to this the little Theria. Oh, they knew what they were doing. Okay, so you just click the exchange button. It used to be a quest that you had to do every time. That's wild. That's crazy. And then you want the sealed ferry wings. This is how you get a bunch of ferries here, okay? So I have 208 ferries. This is not normal. This is not something that you're normally going to be able to get. All right, so I'm just gonna show you guys how ridiculous it is to roll some of these ferries. There are 4 different tiers of ferries while this is going on. There are 4 different tiers of ferries that you can get. There's Faint, Glimmering, Brilliant, and Radiantly Shining. Obviously, Radiantly Shining is the tier 4 ferry that everybody talks about. Brilliant is tier 3, Glimmering is tier 2, and Faint is tier 1. You can see me getting fisted by this right now. Now, most of these, I'm just going to call these mulch, okay? But we're going to keep track of how many of each ferry I'm getting, okay? Brilliants are at the top here, so in 3, this is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So we rolled 32 ferries, and we got 2 brilliants. That's actually pretty good. 2 brilliants, 1, 2, 3, wait, are these still? Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 glimmerings, and everything else was faint. So like, why am I overweight? These fairies they do be weighing me down. Okay, so when you want to exchange fairies, like, okay, we didn't get a tier 4 one. I recommend trying to roll for a tier 3 fairy, because although it's a low % chance, it's actually possible to get one, and you can make a tier 3 fairy into a tier 4 fairy. Regardless, you can make a tier 2 fairy into a tier 4 fairy as well. It's just going to cost a decent amount of silver. We're going to toss these fairies into the mulcher. So when you toss fairies away, essentially they are consumed for sweet honey wine. Sweet honey wine is what you're going to use to... Why? All right. Toss them into the mulcher. Go on. Mulch them. All of them. Okay? If they're not brilliant, it's garbage. Mulch. Toss them in. They're going to a better place. To a farm. Whatever you got to tell them. Okay? I'm mulching the brilliants too because I want to show you guys the difference. Okay? But like, the brilliants obviously give you more sweet honey. Wait. I can turn these in for mythical feathers, can't I? I'm going to keep the brilliants. I'm going to keep the brilliants. Yeah. So there's a quest. Aha! So, if you get a tier 3 or tier 4 fairy and you don't need it, you can turn it in for mythical feathers. This is definitely what you want to do, okay? I got a couple mythical feathers there. Those are super valuable because they help you make your T10. Let's roll some more.
Man.
You can make different tiers of fairies into higher tiers of fairies by forcing it with sweet honey wine. You saw that's what we were exchanging the fairies for. You can basically tier your fairy up. You can only attempt this once per tier level. So if you have a tier 2 trying to go to tier 3 and you have an 80% chance and you fail it, congratulations, you now have mulch. So when you're tiering up your fairy, you need to make sure that it's 100% chance guaranteed to go to tier 4 or you're gonna have a bad day. Okay. Of course. All right. So again, we're gonna mulch everything. We got. Well, let's see how many we got. We got 1 brilliant, 2 brilliants. We got 2 brilliants in 32, 40 rolls. In 40 rolls, we got 2 brilliants. So reasonably consistent. 40 fairies should get you a certain amount of brilliance. Now, when you're logging in as a new player, they should be giving you a brilliant fairy for login rewards. That's the one I would probably recommend using if you don't have a fairy by that point. You can, if you want a fairy right away, you can just roll one and take that tier 1 and just force it up. But like, again, I don't necessarily recommend doing that. There we go. And you'll see that we still have yet to see our first Radiantly Shining fairy, and we're getting close to 100 rolls right now. I have never personally rolled a Radiantly Shining fairy, and I've probably rolled about 2,000 fairies over the course of my BDO career. And I've never gotten one. It is possible to get one, but it's an extremely, probably under a 1% chance to pull one out of one of these boxes. So again, we're gonna look at this. We got one brilliant in close to 34 rolls there. So again, a little bit below the average there, and everything else was faint. So we got no, oh no, we did get some glimmerings in here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you get a Radiantly Shining Fairy, you're just playing a different game. But again, I'm just trying to demonstrate how rare this is by rolling a bunch so that like a new player watching the video can just immediately see what this is like and how frequent the brilliants actually are. Because you're really only aiming for the brilliant fairies. Okay, how many brilliants did we get there? Looks like we got 2. Oh, 3. We got 3 brilliants on those rolls, and that was looked like another 33, 34 rolls. Not bad there at all. Not bad at all. Mulch, mulch, mulch. There we go. And again, I'm only doing this, guys, because I already have a really good fairy. Because once you already have the fairy that you want, you're good to go. Okay, so we're going to do this a couple more times. Okay, 23 to go. Still no radiance. Okay, so we got no brilliant fairies in there. Oof. Okay, so it looks like overall you have like a 10% chance, maybe a little bit under a 10% chance to get a brilliant fairy, and you have a little under a 0% chance to get a radiantly shining fairy. So you're gonna have to tier up your fairy. Okay, I would throw my fairy into the dumpster if it wasn't gonna cost me a lot to get it back. There is
after we come here, touch the board, start the puzzle. We're gonna have 3 guys with 3 different colors. We basically need to do matching game. So we need to make sure this blue guy comes to the blue one, red one goes to red, yellow goes to yellow. But they cannot basically touch to each other. It's like Tron, if you guys think about it. Right. So right here I can see, I think red one. Where's that? Maybe this one. Alright. Let's do red one. sure you guys put the yellow orb at the end as well of this. Then you will tell you that, oh, it is done. So it's that easy, guys, alright? After making all of it, make sure you guys put the blue balls away like this. And voila. And if you did it right, it's gonna be like shiny rainbow like this, and finish it just like that. I don't know what they're saying. Can I just get out, please? Help me? Hello? Black Spear, now we're here. We're gonna jump down and finish that one right there. We're coming here, talk to Wuju, just spam R, Black Spirit. After that, we're gonna do the same thing all over again, altar, and then new map for new puzzle. After we're here, we're at the library, we're gonna talk to this person right here. And then the question and answer for these ones is gonna be wind and lightning. After that, if there is no breath, then kick. Then after that, everlasting glory of Vidir.
All accounted for, yes? Great. Let's go through the details we've gathered so far. I can sense the abyss crumbling by the second. All of us gathered here must combine our strength to overcome this. Sure, at first I suspected all of you as the culprits. unfortunately for me, none of us were at the root of the cause.
And what have I done for you to suspect me so?
Remember that destructive rampage you and Yunhua both went on, like giant monkeys? Your flailing has caused the rifts appearing in my precious, fragile, and already unstable abyss to accelerate.
So what if the rifts don't stop growing?
The rifts will appear in your world as well, spreading to every crack and corner. You've seen signs of it occurring here and there in the outside world already, haven't you? In the end, reality and the abyss will collide and become entangled. We will all be trapped in here forever.
If all is intertwined, wouldn't it be easier to go between worlds? Why trapped?
If two threads become entangled, do they make a single new thread? Does the imagery help? Any lights turning on up there?
You want to say that again, you nostrilless freak?
Do you want to return to the land of the Morning Light? If the abyss comes apart at the seams,
Stripes and No David. They pitched an idea for a western about creatures in the desert, and while the premise was simple, it resonated with all three of them. Verbinski was eager to start working on the film. They had already drawn some concept art and written a short outline of their vision, but at the time he was already in the middle of directing Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, that's so
he
sick.
decided to hold off until he was done with the project.
The first three Pirates of the Caribbean movies are unfucking believably good. Probably one of my favorite trilogies. My favorite trilogy of all time is obviously Lord of the Rings. I don't think there will ever be a trilogy or even movies better than those ever made in history. I will glaze those movies until the end of the earth. They are fucking masterpieces, and I think change the entire direction of anything in the same genre forever. My loser ass. Having all three of the Lord of the Rings video games on my fucking desk, bro. Sealed, by the way. Never touched by human hands. I wonder how much those go for. I'm very curious.
But Gore had no idea just how successful Pirates of the Caribbean would be, and after it ended up grossing over $600 million, they had to do more. He went on to direct the second and third Pirates films. By
Star Wars is better? I don't even remember watching Star Wars. Maybe I should go back and watch those three. Yeah, I think the last one I saw was like General Grievous, but I was like 8 years old. I don't remember shit about Star Wars.
2007, he had helped Disney create a billion-dollar franchise and gained extensive experience working with some of the top
Davy
VFX
Jones'
artists in
CG
the
was
industry.
crazy.
With that behind him, Gore Verbinski could revisit their rough idea from 4 years earlier, the one that would slowly take shape as Rango.
I think when you make sequels, the danger is you fall into a trap of the known, you know, and it was really good to get back to something that you don't know if you don't know what you're doing, kind of, in a way.
Very early on, they knew what kind of story they wanted to tell. A lizard on a journey of self-discovery. They just had to figure out what it would look like. The designers pitched an array of ideas, but there was one
Bro, these concept arts look fucking awesome. Damn, bro, that little fucking rat. This style is unbelievable.
Sketch in particular that stood out. The way it was framed allowed the team to clearly visualize the film's tone and aesthetic. A dry, gritty world that looked and felt like an old western. This helped lay the framework for every shot, set piece, and especially the characters. If they wanted to create an authentic vibe, the creatures had to look and act like their real-life counterparts to some extent. They chose a chameleon as the main protagonist.
Oh, that's what he is?
The obvious reason was that
I thought he was an iguana.
Chameleons use camouflage to blend in, and blending in was central to the film's themes of personal identity. Additionally, the species was an aquatic chameleon, which meant it couldn't naturally survive in the desert, making him seem even more out of place. They also realized that chameleons move their eyes independently, which could be utilized to convey a wide range of different expressions. The mare character had to have been there for a long time, so tortoise immediately came to mind. They thought of a lizard that freezes up in a catatonic state like some lizards do, and desert rodents that burrow and emerge from the ground. The goal was to craft an ensemble of believable characters with realistic imperfections, where the audience could understand a lot about someone and their story just by looking at them. With the setting, it made sense that the town itself would be built from found objects.
I love that.
Scraps and junk repurposed into buildings and structures. For the cast, Johnny Depp was the first to come on board. He had already expressed interest in the role when Verbinski pitched the idea to him during the...
Dude, Jack Sparrow was one of the most convincing roles ever played by any actor. You got like Christian Bale playing Batman, Johnny Depp playing Jack Sparrow, dude, fucking Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man. Like, they are those characters. You know what I mean? Like, nobody will ever be able to play those characters better than them, in my humble opinion. Oh, yeah, Heath Ledger's Joker. Although, I will say, dude, Joaquin Phoenix, personally, I do prefer. Loved Heath Ledger's Joker. Joaquin Phoenix, for the first movie, unfucking believable. But different realities, different Jokers. Amazingly portrayed. Amazingly.
Making of Pirates of the Caribbean 2, so when it came time to finally bring him on, it didn't take much convincing.
So what did he do to convince you to do it? What was the pitch?
You know what, he didn't even have to. You know, he didn't have to go through any song and dance, nothing. It was basically, he said, I got this idea of a lizard on an existential quest in epic western. And I just said, okay, well, you know, I'm in.
Gore, along with a small team of artists and designers, spent 16 months working out of a house in Pasadena, California, sketching out the film's plot. At the time, there was no guarantee it would even get made, but eventually Paramount Pictures stepped in and agreed to produce and distribute Rango under Nickelodeon Movies. The partnership effectively birthed a new studio called Paramount Animation. After years of planning and deliberation, production officially began in 2008. Even though it was animated, the team was determined to preserve that grounded, realistic...
I just realized 2008 is 18 years ago, bro. What the fuck? Holy shit, bro. I was 14 when this shit started. What the hell?
Feel in the final product, so they took a unique approach. Rather than using motion capture, they used traditional keyframe-based CGI. But the actors weren't just recording their lines in booths. Verbinski had them perform the scenes together on a stage with props and costumes, acting everything out physically so the animators could capture the energy and realism of a live performance. The cast members noted that at times fans, they felt ridiculous doing it.
Well, initially it felt ridiculous, you know what I mean? All the actors felt really stupid.
Plenty of animated movies used real footage for reference, but this was another level. It added extra costs and consumed more time, but Gore Verbinski simply didn't know any other way. Directing actors on a physical stage was what he was used to, and he wanted to stay within his comfort zone. But this commitment to realism, to making Rango feel like a true Western, was where some felt the film began pushing the boundaries a little too far. Rango drew heavy inspiration from classic movies like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Chinatown, and The Shakiest Gun in the West. It even included multiple direct references to those films, among many others.
You son of a... Just a son of a...
In most movies from that era, especially westerns, characters were often seen smoking or drinking alcohol. Smoking reflected the historical...
Yeah, because that's all you can fucking do. That and kill people, bro. There's only so many people you can kill.
Presence of tobacco use in the Old West and its glamorization in Hollywood throughout the 20th century.
Not to mention, people used to think that smoking was healthy for you, so it was a different time.
The creators of Rango felt that a Western movie without characters smoking wouldn't feel authentic.
Agreed.
It was a key element of the Western aesthetic. Additionally, they realized that most of the audience members who would actually catch the references were adults, so they gradually leaned into mature jokes, stronger language, and subtle nods. As the release date approached, it became more and more clear that they weren't making a standard kids movie. The directors, writers, producers, and
those are always the best films when the movie for kids is just a kids movie, but if you're older, there are little things that you'll notice that kids' brains can't possibly notice. Beautiful.
And actors were
Love
all
it.
determined
Very smart
to
writing.
push the boundaries of what an animated film could be. And for better or worse, that's what they did.
You might say I'm from everywhere there's trouble brewing and hell waiting to be raised. You might say I'm what hell's already raised up. Name's Rango.
Damn!
Rango officially premiered in March 2011, and for the most part, critics were impressed. The movie had a distinct visual style with fluid animation, and while the story clearly drew from many
Dude, that reptile, that fucking snake looks hypnotic to me. The animation is unbelievable.
influences, it still felt fresh and inventive. It was funny, sincere, and by the end, genuinely inspirational.
I had such a great time watching this movie. It is not at all what I would expect from an animated film. It doesn't feel like an animated film to me.
Great Western. If you like Westerns, you will like Rango. In fact, you might just love it.
It's Gore Verbinski's best film.
This is probably the best CGI animation I have ever seen.
Each character stood out in their own way, brought to life by a stellar cast. Johnny Depp was especially praised as a perfect choice for the lead, often described as a chameleon for his ability to transform into vastly different roles. He was hilarious, yet also nailed the emotional beats perfectly. Rango was a breath of fresh air that actually had something to say. It even ended up winning the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Someone asked me if this film was for kids, and I don't know, but it was certainly created by a bunch of grown-ups acting like children.
But while reviews were mostly positive, the acclaim wasn't unanimous. No one could deny that the film featured cutting-edge animation and standout performances, but many viewers took issue with its tone. Rango was rated PG, like many Pixar and DreamWorks titles. In the lead-up to its release, it was marketed as a family-friendly animated movie, but that wasn't exactly what audiences got. As reviews started pouring in,
It's like Kai Cenat's stream where he says that it's for kids, and then he's getting jerked off by a stripper in the background.
more and more parents were expressing their disappointment. They described it as having offensive language and suggestive comments.
I think it's completely fine to have offensive language in kid stuff, because everybody in the real world talks like that. Everywhere they go, they're gonna hear fuck, they're gonna hear shit. Just teach them to not say it. You know, it's like, what am I going to say? That Markiplier is not good for kids because he says fuck sometimes? Who cares?
They use several curse words, there's a lot of crude behavior, also splattered uses of mild sexual content, including a reference to lesbians that my 11-year-old picked right up. This should have been rated higher because of the language and violence. I cringed every time I heard language I knew my 7-year-old would repeat for shock value. To have a movie masquerading as family-friendly that is not is offensive beyond belief.
Here come the Karens, guys.
Like all movie releases, some people's reactions were extreme, but even those who liked it were confused about who the film was for.
It's an animated movie, but it's not really for kids.
It's very adult. It's very adult.
Definitely very
I don't get like who the movie's made for.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like all the jokes are for the parents.
This is not a kids film. Even though it's put out through like Nickelodeon and it's rated PG, it's not a children's film.
At the end of the day, the creators weren't trying to trick audiences into corrupting their children. Obviously, it was all in service of making something that fit their vision.
It's not G. You know, it says parental guidance.
Yep.
As a parent, I think I'm a parent, you should, you know, use some guidance.
Still, a lot of the references and most of the jokes were directed at adults, and there were multiple scenes involving character deaths, as well as mentions of hanging and other forms of violence. The film didn't have the smooth, colorful corporate look.
I was watching R-rated movies when I was like 6 years old. I'm not gonna lie, bro. You know, like I was watching all that shit. It didn't fuck me up at all. I don't think showing people who are 10 or 11 death is that big of a deal. Or smoking, or shooting, you know, like it is also showing it in the most lighthearted fashion it possibly can be shown as, which is, you know, a cartoon, which is probably the best way to show it, you know what I mean? So like, it just sounds like these people are just a bunch of pussies.
That families had come to expect. Instead, it was rough and dark, much like the Mojave Desert setting and the characters who inhabited it. But the mature language wasn't even the biggest complaint about Rango. Many parents and advocacy groups were shocked by just how much smoking appeared on screen. According to
fucking Western.
California, the Sacramento Anti-Smoking Organization, there were at least 60 instances of smoking in the film. The only other animated film to match Rango was 101 Dalmatians.
Oh yeah, and 101 Dalmatians to be rated R, right?
They went as far as labeling the movie a public health hazard.
Oh my
People
God.
believed that the creators were encouraging the use of tobacco and that it would lead kids into doing it themselves.
Oh
The
my
combined
God.
outrage of parents and organized.
I'm sorry, if your kid sees something on the TV like smoking and doesn't consult you about it, you know? I mean, that's kind of on you, man. Oh, I saw smoking on TV, so I'm gonna go sprint to the store, buy a cigarette, and smoke the entire pack immediately. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of insane.
Organization sparked a collective campaign to get Rango an R rating.
To be fair, I've been doing tobacco since I was in 3rd grade.
Despite their efforts, the petitions had no effect, and the film retained its PG rating. Yet, it didn't stop there. The film also faced significant backlash from certain religious circles, not just for its language, death, smoking, or alcohol use, but for the story itself. On Rango's journey of self-discovery...
How did you start? I was really cold. When I was in like 3rd grade, I think. I was told that if I wanted to warm up, I should put my hands in my pants and cup my balls because that would warm me up. And I said that wasn't warming me up enough. And so a family member gave me some dip and it did warm me up. And I didn't know it was bad for me. And then that family member kept on giving me dip. And I got very addicted to nicotine from a very early age. Yeah. So yeah, a little rough.
There are multiple mentions of a mythical gunslinger known as the Spirit of the West.
This is my quest. He waits for me.
What could have caused him to do such a thing?
The spirit of the West, amigo.
Rango even has a spiritual encounter with the character near the end of the movie. The figure he meets is essentially a Clint Eastwood archetype, who appears as a quiet guide and mentor during Rango's lowest moment. He's referenced repeatedly throughout the film, with characters treating him as a godlike being. There's a scene where the animals gather around a fire, hold hands, and pray to him, ending with an amen.
Thank you, Spirit of the West. Amen.
Because of how the film frames this,
Let's get out of here. Now.
want it to myself and all family disown me.
Most excellent. No news yet, though. So go out and if you succeed in that, I imagine the culprit would have it.
Character, some online communities claimed it was mocking Christianity,
Oh
many
my
of which
God.
gave it a moral rating of offensive. Additionally, the townspeople placed their faith in the mayor, who manipulates the water scarcity to his
It really is crazy how offended people can get over some very harmless shit, bro. It's actually insane.
advantage,
Oh
stating
my
that
God,
if you
bro.
control the water,
Like, get a
you
job,
control
man.
everything. Some viewers interpreted this as a metaphor for religious leaders using faith to control people and maintain power.
Like, there's so many chronically online housewives who have nothing better to do, and so the way they get their frustration out is by being miserable, dumb, liberal cunts on the internet and make everybody else's life more difficult by merely just existing. It's so unbearable, these people.
In some spaces, the movie became a target of moral panic, with claims that it was going to corrupt children. The movie is spiritual but worships the wrong god, the spirit of the West, who actually appears in man form near the end of the movie. Many references to the way we worship Jesus, God, are used to worship this false god, with amen and hallelujah used frequently. I felt this movie has the potential to plant a seed in young viewers to associate religious leaders with the mayor, since they have used so many religious buzzwords with him, and possibly cause the kids to have a bad feeling about religion and its leaders, and that they may feel silly and stupid for believing in a fairy tale like that, because the ending does not glorify God, but rather sums it all up that spirituality is a hoax.
To be completely fair, I can understand a lot of Christians hating another film with spirituality being perceived as a hoax, because I'll be honest, like in that time period of like the 1990s or the 2020s, almost every single bad guy, every single time religion is put into a video game or is put into an anime or is put into a show, they're almost always the bad guys. Legitimately, like even in games like Metaphor ReFantazio, amazing game, the Church of the bad guys. Fire Emblem, the Church of the bad guys. Like, every single time religion is put into something, they're using this to manipulate you and get you to do their bidding. It's like, when was the last time that the religious people were actually the good guys? It's so fucking rare, right? So I can understand why people do get a little bit touchy about this subject, because it's been vilified for so long.
Characters that have been identified as stupid, ugly looking,
And I will say, I believe our nation of the United States functions better with Christianity at its forefront as a way to guide people and how to properly integrate into our society and what it means to be a good, righteous person. I believe Christianity is an amazing effect on this world, even more so the United States of America. And I believe it's a very good thing to teach your children as well as to learn from to become a better person, in my humble opinion.
and just plain turn your stomach are shown praying and doing activities associated with Christianity. This movie by Nickelodeon seemed to be yet another subversive attack on religion, specifically Christianity, with impressionable children as the target audience. The reptile hero stands as a non-believer's version of Christ, a nobody coming from nowhere who creates his identity, making it up as he goes along. The mayor tells him everyone needs something to believe in. Right now they believe in you. The concept here is that faith is a good thing, but has nothing to do with reality or truth. Sexual talk, violence, murder, lies, profanity, references to the pit, praying to a spirit and not God. Wake up, people, Satan is trying to reach your children at an early age. As a Christian parent, I have to strongly recommend you keep your children from this movie. Most of the concerns people had were pretty over the top, and the creators of Rango had no malicious intent behind the film. There's always going to be parents that overanalyze movies, but Rango did provide them with plenty of ammo to fuel their interpretations. It's darker, more vulgar, and bleaker than most animated movies, even by
Yeah, some cope. I guess that's not happening.
Just decided to say nothing. For a year and a half, nothing. Until November 3rd, 2017.
I want to take a minute. And I want to talk about
I sat down with a good friend of mine, a content creator that covers a lot of different games, MMOs, multiplayer games, gacha games, that is arguably one of the biggest Black Desert online content creators, having tens of thousands of hours spent playing it, streaming it, and creating content on it to discuss the state of the game and let you guys know from the perspective of someone that is as diehard a fan as she is, whether or not the game is worth playing in 2026. If you don't already follow her on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, go ahead and fix that right now. Now let's go ahead and jump right in.
I have been playing BDO for about 10 years now. I have over 37,000 hours on my account.
That's crazy. That's actually, how many did you say? 37,000?
Over 37,000 hours in Black Desert. And I know that the game has a lot of AFK in there, but I did a lot of mines active as well.
I think that's more than I put into WoW. I started playing World of Warcraft back in 2008. I feel like I haven't even put in close to 37,000 hours. That's unreal.
Yeah, but I mean, it is inflated with some fishing, but I haven't been much of an AFKer in BDO in general.
What do you think of the game, though? Like, generally, as someone that's been playing it for over a decade now, do you enjoy it as much as you did when you started? Do you think it's gotten better or worse? Do you think it sucks?
Well, a lot of this answer is carried by nostalgia. So at the beginning of Black Desert, it was my first like super open world MMO, and it was really doing something that no other MMO was doing, right? Everybody's doing the traditional theme park MMO where you reset your gear, but this one was different. And my opinion is very carried by nostalgia. I really enjoyed Black Desert when I first played it. Seems like the game is a little bit different nowadays. I'm enjoying it more of a casual nowadays than a hardcore.
Do you think it's gotten better since you started playing originally, or do you think it's gotten worse? Because the game has changed a lot, like even in terms of focus, like even the characters are different in style and theme, like. And you know, no MMO stays the same. WoW has changed drastically over the last decade. Final Fantasy 14 has changed a lot. Like, what are your thoughts on BDO and its, I guess, like its trajectory and how it's been moving over the last several years?
It's good and bad. I think in some areas it's kind of lost its luster. The classes don't feel as original anymore. They almost seem a little sloppily copied from previous classes. So you could tell the development of the game has changed in some areas and made better in other areas. For instance, something that is good is that the game is destroyed some of its barriers it didn't want to dip its toe in, like putting dance emotes in the game. They were against it at the beginning, but now they do it. So they've broken, this is just one example, there's many I can list, but that's one of the examples where they have went back on their hard stance on and changed for the better. But then there's some that feel a little sloppy, like again, the characters they create almost don't feel as original or as exciting as they used to feel.
I feel like Final Fantasy 14 also did that a lot, which is kind of a shame. But then at the same time, with how many classes are there in BDO right
There are like 26, I think, and that's a lot of classes.
Exactly. So coming up with new ideas for classes is also going to be very difficult. I mean, Vindictus is another game, another action game specifically with dozens of classes as well. So, you know, not trying to defend them here, and I totally agree with you, but at the same time,
hard.
Like, it's,
no, I get it. Yeah.
I'm assuming it can get pretty difficult coming up with new classes as well, especially while trying to keep to that theme that they have without trying to go like too extreme and introduce like, you know, mechanical you know, superheroes or like Gundams or something like that.
Exactly. I do feel though, to be fair, that they're adding more quick stuff that they could get away with, because I do think a lot of the development went into Crimson Desert. So it almost feels like there was more of a smaller team working on BDO the last couple of years.
Speaking of that, how active do you think, because I mean, less content, longer content cadence, so the frequency with which content is released to the general public to consume kind of leaves people with less to do, and therefore like deters people from logging in actively and playing it. How active do you think the game is these days? Because like a couple years ago when I was actively playing BDO, because admittedly I haven't played in a little while, but with back when I was playing it a couple years ago, I think Pearl Abyss was saying they had like hundreds of thousands of daily active players and like millions of like monthly active players total. So that was already putting it in the, one of the most popular, most played MMO, like at the top of those lists. But how often do you think, or how
many active players?
Yeah, the game is these days.
I think Black Desert has definitely gone down in activity and active players, though I don't think it's that much though. I think on Steam it's always kept a consistent average, but again, these are probably not active, but that doesn't mean that they don't show interest, right? Anybody who's logged in, even if they're AFK, is clearly showing interest of playing Black Desert, so they play it at some point. Maybe they actively grind when they're not fishing because they're at work. So I think in general, the game has suffered a little bit of a decline, but I don't think a ton. If you had me gun to head right now, answer how many active players I think are across all the platforms that it's in, I would say maybe 200,000. Yeah, throughout everything. All regions, everything.
Which is still a lot. Like, at the end
It's
of the
still
day,
a lot.
a lot of MMOs have declined. I think ESO is probably one of the biggest probably losses. They used to be top 3, like WoW, Final Fantasy 14, and ESO or BDO. They'd kind of navigate, or they'd kind of like trade positions on who was like at 3rd or 4th place, and then ESO dropped from hundreds of thousands down to like, I think they were claiming there was less than like 60,000 players when last I checked. So that had a monumental drop off, which is kind of crazy.
For sure.
It's good to see that BDO is doing good. Do you think that for new players, that the game is easy for them to not only pick up but catch up? Because I remember back when the last time Pluribus sponsored me, they had me go into it for a new class, and when starting a new class, you have to start level 1, so you have that entire new player experience again. But even though like the new player experience had changed, it was still very like overwhelming for me. As someone that still had played it as much as I did, there were still lots of menus to navigate. There were still a lot of like little intricate details that I think is what partially makes BDO like a more deeper, more complex game, but is also very difficult for people that haven't played it to get into. So do you think that like these days the game is easy to not only pick up, but also is it easy for players to catch up to an end game point without having to grind like 6 months straight, 12 hours a day like a second job?
Well, that's never going to happen for Black Desert. It's a steep vertical climb. So a player who is active, say John, right, player 1, he's been playing for 10 years, he's a veteran, and he grinds every day at least 5 hours a day. A new player will never dream of catching up. Like, forget about that. That's like never going to happen. They have made it a little bit easier for new players to get super expedited in gear, so you can get into the more exciting combat, the more exciting grind spots. But again, player 1, a veteran, will never be caught up by a new player.
I heard this
it's
isn't
just
true.
like impossible. Even through swiping, it's going to take you months and months and months and years to put in that time to even be comparable or close to. They have shortened the gap a little bit.
That's not true.
But there's something to be said about vertical climb. This is why I prefer BDO over a game that resets every 6 months like Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft. I want my progress to show that I've been grinding that game, and the game is like showing me, hey, this is what you work for. You get to log in a week for now and still enjoy being in the top % of gear. But BDO has done a lot of good things for new players, including like always seasons, because they used to have like seasons on and off, but now it's always seasons. So if you're a new player, you could jump right in and get super.
Oh fuck. Don't tell me it's Pete. Don't tell me it's Pete.
Hey, what's up?
Got the job?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I was kind of in the middle of a road trip.
No worries, man.
You're like,
Fucking, I don't know. I need to wake up tomorrow, donate Plazzy, and then fucking, I don't know. I'm gonna get paid like soon. $600.
you need to do construction, dude. It's your calling. It's your life calling. You need to do construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bubby.